I had to unmute myself there. All right. Ah, yes, always things happening in my life. And yeah, I do like that Clam Before the Storm. Always good to make you think. That does explain why I try to find thriller movies, because even when I'm watching movies, I want to be challenged. And I guess I'll uh, get into that. Well, how about now? Yeah. I'm still doing 2 movie weekends during the pandemic because it's hard to tell how many movie theaters are even open. And I've noticed that when you stay home, you spend a lot less money. Uh, uh, I've been doing Redbox rentals, and with discount codes, if they give me $1.25 off the first night, that's all I need to watch it. That means that I'm spending less than $1 to watch these Redbox rentals. And the one that I watched this weekend was a movie called VFW, and they called that a horror thriller about a drug-addled horde that invades a VFW post. And according to the closing credits, it was filmed in Dallas, Fort Worth, and there is such a VFW post in that area, 2494 in Irving, Texas. I guess there are plenty of actors in it that had starring roles like in the 80s, like the Cobra Kai guy from Karate Kid was in it, and George Wendt, I recognized him, of course, Norm from Cheers. Uh, so I usually don't go for horror movies, but I do like thrillers. So yeah, it was still worth it to see it, especially at that price. It was also notable because the drug-addled horde was hanging out at an abandoned movie theater. I could tell that right away because the sign was still up, but you couldn't tell what movies were on the sign. So some of the letters were missing. I don't know. And one of the characters was named Walter Reed, and I caught that one because that's the name of a military hospital. I know that character names can often have meaning. I keep finding that out. Like in the when I was assigned to watch the movie Midnight Cowboy, when I first took speaking and writing first semester of college, the instructor, I guess, worked at art galleries in the East and reminded us character names can have meaning. It's like Joe Buck. Yeah, if you think of Buck as a male deer, I guess that does make sense in terms of him being a male hooker in that movie. But I digress. And the other movie that I watched was a recent purchase. I'm still slowly replacing VHS when I find DVD. This one was Gung Ho. No, not the one from the 40s, the one from the 80s, where Michael Keaton was a liaison at a car plant that was operated by the Japanese in Pennsylvania. I guess in some ways it reminded me of my hometown in central Iowa. We didn't make cars there, but we made washing machines. So yeah, made out of metal, had a motor, unionized factory. Yeah, on some level, I found it to be relatable, even though it was Dad that worked there and not me. So it was a crazy week at work. I couldn't believe how much manual stuffing of envelopes I had to do because the machine was down for a number of days. But we got it fixed by the end of the week. That's the most important thing. Waiting for parts, and it's like, oh, stuck in Memphis at the FedEx hub. What could we do? It's out of our hands. And I had to keep telling my boss, we're doing what we can. And I'd like to think that he was kind to the technician because, well, technicians can only do so much. And he even said, well, the machine gets used a lot. I mean, it's a lot like if you keep running a car, eventually it's going to overheat. Yeah. We've had a lot of calls about it lately. We demand a lot out of it. But I guess things work out in the end. And I didn't mind it because a colleague of mine was brought in to help out. And I hate to admit it, a little bit of him has rubbed off on me because I don't know. What was it? He'll say things like shitty ass envelopes, and I'll catch myself saying the same thing because sometimes he's right on track on some other things that we have to deal with. Well, he did. He trained me. He did the work before me, so yeah, he would know. So there was that. I like reading Writer's Almanac, which is the regular daily posting from Garrison Keillor. And I keep learning things. As the saying goes, as we seek, so shall we find, even if I don't read it same day. I found out that there were two famous writers named Winston Churchill, not just the British PM, but also an American writer who was born in St. Louis. Because there was a posting one day about Jack London wanting advice from writers, and then that's where Garrison Keillor said, "No, not the British PM." And it's like, oh, great! Now I have to find out the Civil War book that I bought at a used book sale was written by the British PM or the American writer. I still need to find that book, but it was said that even though the British PM was the British PM, he still was better known for writing than the other Winston Churchill. It's like, wow, that's really tough. You have the name first, you're writing first, and it's like somebody else comes along. I guess that's why they have that Screen Actors Guild rule about only one person to have the same name. They don't have that with writers. Oh, I still see weird things when I'm out and about, especially with the walks I've been doing to fill the void since I am not at the clubs as much as I was. Last night, I wanted a picture of a full moon at sunset, and I tried more than once, and I feel like eventually I got a really good one. But you know what? Another good photo op would have been what I also witnessed during that time, which was somebody on rollerblades whizzing by, and they wore a plaid skirt. And it's like, well, yeah, that's not the type of outfit for roller derby, but that was the first thing that came to mind. Right place, right time, I guess, with some of these pictures that I've done. Kind of like Vivian Meyer, the street photographer. I take a lot of inspiration from her after I watched a documentary about her. The Chicago Nay briefly worked for Phil Donahue. And just the things I hear as well, like when I did laundry outside the laundromat, a woman came in with her kid and then noticed the wet floor and said, "Oh, a machine peed," or "Did it cry?" Well, I've heard both things about rain as well. And it's like, well, what can you do? Wet floor, and I guess sometimes you have to tell a story about it to shut a kid up. I don't even know if the kid wondered what happened. You just work around it. And yeah, even at work today, I witnessed something on it. It wasn't all that unnerving, but it's like, what? Somebody, there's a file room that's just on the other side of the fence from where I work, and somebody left their phone, and then I heard Margaritaville, which is their ringtone, and I had their number, so I called them and I said, "You left your phone down there," and then they claimed it and said, "Were you annoyed by the hearing the ringtone?" It's like, no, I don't mind. I like hearing music, and I should have gotten to the point where I said it reminded me of doing karaoke, because I know that's a popular song to do, even if I don't do it, because of what people say in the middle of it. Looking for my lost shaker of salt. Where's the salt?
Salt!
Where's the goddamn salt? So yeah, I do miss doing karaoke a little, because that became half of my stage time. Because it's a little easier to get a stage time, and I'm more willing to talk about that because nobody asks you to sing, unlike joke telling. And yeah, being a stodgy academic, I do like watching news shows like 60 Minutes, and I like the segment they had this weekend about Dave Kindred, the sports writer. And I noticed one thing in the background. It was a quote by David Eisenhower, which I guess was the president's grandson, about rather be a sports columnist than president. And what I found online was that was a quote during Watergate. Yeah, I don't know how many people want to be president at any time. I mean, famous people like Lady Gaga said, "Fame is prison" as a Twitter posting. But some people are willing to do things that'll make them famous. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Somebody has to be in charge. Well, I guess that'll do it for me. Thank you all, been great.
Yay! Big round of applause